Now that we've covered the 5 core SMS journeys you need to have in your Attentive account, let's talk about some of the more advanced ones that you can use to extend your program and drive incremental ROI. So first, we're going to start with a Bounceback Offer. This is more of a extension or modification of your post-purchase journey. And the goal here is to send an offer immediately after a purchase is made that's relevant to whatever the order just was to get that customer to come back and make order number 2 immediately. As it's proven that the quicker you can get order number 2, the longer that they'll stay, and the more likely they are to make order number 3. Now, it depends on the product and the brand category, because sometimes this just doesn't make sense to do, but test doing a bounce back offer in your post-purchase journey. Just set up a conditional branch, just A/B test 50-50, and send half your customers down the bounce back offer split of the journey and see how that performs. Next is replenishment journey. So this is to remind customers to replenish their last order. It's really great for any sort of product that is consumable or that you're using and running out of. So think food and beverage, think skincare and beauty. Replenishment isn't as relevant for like clothing, though it depends on like what type. So in this replenishment journey, the trigger here is going to be made a purchase, but you're going to have a time delay, usually of around like 45 days. What I like to do is look in Shopify and use a tool like a Lifetimely to see what the average time period is between order number 1 and order number 2. And that's typically when I like to trigger the replenishment journey. But let's say it's 45 days. So your trigger is going to be made a purchase, but then you're going to have a time delay of 45 days and then check to see if a purchase has been made since they started that journey. If it has, then they're not going to receive any text to replenish. Then you're going to end the journey here when that subscriber has made a purchase at least once since beginning it. Next is the customer win-back journey. This is really an extension of your replenishment journey. And typically we like to start this at around 90 plus days. So customers who haven't purchased in a while. The trigger here again is going to be the exact same, made a purchase with a time delay, and you're going to be branching by whether or not they've made a purchase since starting that journey. So that way, if it's been the 90 days and they did in fact make a purchase, they're never going to receive any of the customer win-back communications. Next is sunset. So this is primarily about engagement. So subscribers who haven't engaged in a while with your SMS marketing program, say usually 180 or more days, and the trigger here is going to be join a segment. So what you'll do is in Attentive, you'll create a segment for whatever your unengagement criteria is. Let's say it has not clicked a text in 180 days. So create that segment, has not clicked a text in 180 days. And then what I like to do is actually exclude anybody who's joined the SMS marketing program in the past 30, because they may still in fact engage. But the trigger there is then going to be join that segment. So when you build your Attentive journey, the trigger is join the segment, and then you select that segment that you just created as the trigger. And then you're going to end this journey when they've re-engaged, or if they just don't re-engage and you've already sent them 3 additional texts. And I'll showcase in one of the following videos some of the ways that you can tag these customers and then branch them off so that they're in a particular segment that you really only communicate with for very large promotional days, like Black Friday, for example, where you want to get as much visibility as possible. And if they do re-engage, great, but if they don't, you sort of leave that list to the side, but you don't continue to send to them, because with text, every message has a cost associated with it. Then you have back in stock. So this is to notify subscribers a product they viewed or added to cart is back in stock. And you're going to end this journey when they've made a purchase at least once since beginning it, or after a couple of texts. Like, you don't want the back in stock journey to be 18 texts long. You're going to have a massive unsubscribe rate. Next is price drop. So this is to notify subscribers a product they viewed or added to cart decreased in price. And you can set the trigger here so that it's X price drop. Like, is it 5% price drop? Is it a 10% price drop? Is it a 15%? What is the threshold that is needed in order to trigger that? And then also you can select the time frame of which they viewed or added that product to cart. So is it in the past 30 days? Is it in the past 90? And then it's automatically going to exclude anybody who viewed or added that product to cart, but did in fact check out. So that way you're not sending a price drop notifications to somebody who did make a purchase on a product. Then we're going to go into low inventory. So this is to notify subscribers a product they viewed or added to cart has limited inventory left. And again, this is going to exclude any of your subscribers who did in fact purchase whatever that product is. You can select how many units need to be left. Is it 25? Is it 10? What's the threshold that's going to trigger this journey? And then you can decide again the time frame. So was it in the past 30 days? Was it in the past 90 days? Was it in the past 180 days that the subscriber viewed or added the product to cart? Last is VIP. And this can be built out a ton, especially depending on what you're doing from a loyalty standpoint. But the trigger here is going to be joined a certain segment. And let's say it's spent $500 or more in their lifetime. You would send a special text thanking them. Maybe you're giving them a free gift. Maybe you're giving a dollar amount off their next order. These are all the different types of things that you can do with a VIP journey. What I really like to do is break it up into tiers. So maybe it's like 250, 500, and 1,000, and then you communicate with customers throughout their entire lifetime with you what happens when they hit these certain tiers, and then you have it backed up with the text coming out of Attentive based off of that lifetime value spend. So those are some of the advanced SMS journeys that you can start to build out in your Attentive account, but make sure you've got those core ones set up and in a good place first, because the core ones are going to drive the most amount of revenue for your brand. Now let's dive into actually how to set these up within the Attentive platform.